Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Solid Gold Studio for another quick update. Episode 12 is up there. A lot of you have watched it already, and good news so far. Fingers crossed, everything seems to be okay regarding the copyright. So that's good. There's episode 12 had its problems. It wasn't a music copyright this time. It was the Pathé News clip that I'd used, the actual soundtrack from that clip that had a copyright issue. So yet again I had to pull it down, remove the soundtrack. So what you're seeing in episode 12 is there are images from that Pathé News clip of the Gothic rail crash I'm talking about, of course, but there's no commentary, and it was that sound that was the copyright issue. But in the original cut of episode 12, there were two Pathé News clips in there of the reporting of the rail crash. So a little bit of more good news with regard to the music copyright. I told you in the last bulletin that I'd come across Tune Tank, which supplies music with no copyright. And I've also found another music source, and this is this guy on the screen here, a guy called Scott Buckley. I think he's Australian, but he allows his music to be used. In fact, he produces it specifically for music creators. But I just wanted to show you this because this is how the episode 12 looks, and I'll just bring the camera a little bit closer so that you can maybe see the screen a little bit better. I don't know whether the camera's picking this up, but underneath the title of the episode, there it is, episode 12, and underneath here is my description of the episode. But this is what you have to do now for the copyright. It isn't just a case of mentioning the artist in the end credits at the end of the film, but also you have to list all of the songs that you've used in there underneath the description. And YouTube are insisting that there is a live link to that music, and the obvious reason is that it will promote that person's music should anyone be interested, you know. So if you've heard a piece of music and you think, oh, that's fantastic, I need to investigate that, then you should be able to click on the live link, and that would take you to the rest of that person's music. So that's what you have to do to get round the music copyright issue. But at least going forward, it means I have some means of applying music to my films without this constant problem. So just moving the camera back there for a moment so you're not on top of me. So as I say, that is the way around it. And this guy, Scott Buckley, he produces more orchestral pieces. So I'm using that in the films that I'm actually busy with at the moment. Whereas Tune Tank is sort of maybe all right for some of the other different style of music. But as I say, between the two, I should be able to now go forward with a little bit more confidence. So that's what I wanted to tell you about that. Just get rid of that. And I just wanted to tell you a little amusing story here on episode 12. This is the fly sequence at the end of the section on spittle. And if you remember, what happens on this piece here is that the drone flies through this arch here. Now, when I was actually flying this, I was standing at the far end of this bridge down on the riverbank. So I'd flown the drone across the river to do the earlier shots, and then the drone sort of ended up here looking down the river, and I thought, this is a superb looking shot. Dare I fly through the arch? Bearing in mind, as you can see, you're right over the river. So I thought, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I flew the drone through this arch, which you've all seen in episode 12. I even added a whoosh sound as you go underneath the bridge, just to make it a little bit more dramatic. However, when I'm out filming, this is the controller for the drone. So you've got your joysticks here, for up and down and left and right, and, and so on and so forth. But you can see the screen there isn't much bigger than a smartphone. And although it is crystal clear because it's high definition, and I can even run it in 4K if I want, it didn't pick up in this arch. So what I'm saying is, this particular arch that I chose to fly through was the only arch on that bridge that didn't have something hanging off the top. And you probably won't be able to see on this screen here, but if you look at episode 12 again, you'll see right along the top of the bridge here is a gantry, because the workmen are doing some repair to the side of the bridge there, and they have these long chains hanging below the gantry, and they're on this arch, they're on that arch, they're on that arch. The only one that didn't have any was on there. I couldn't see that on there. I just flew through. As it happens, when it got through to the other side of the bridge, it lost signal, and I thought, oh my God, it's going to drop into the river. And here's the little item here. I mean, it's only tiny, but it's very clever. And because it had lost signal, it decided it would come back to me. However, that is dangerous as well, because unless it went higher than the electrification on the bridge, that would have caused a serious accident, on Northeast Rail. But I managed to retrieve the drone, bring it safely back through the arch and back to me. But those are the perils of flying a drone. And as I say, although that is extremely good, it did not show those chains. So the first I'd seen them was when I was putting it into the project and watched it back, and I nearly had kittens. Honestly, I did. Because as I say, if I'd chosen to go through that arch or that arch, it would have been a disaster. And I would have been crying to you lot more through the loss of the drone rather than worrying about copyright issues. So there you go. That was an amusing little story that you might, a behind the scenes story, as it were. I just wanted to give you an update as well. the first episode, I said in the last bulletin that I was the next project. There's quite a few of you who have watched episode 12 and already asking what's coming next. Well, the very next thing to be posted is the fly sequences from the Tyne to the Tweed. I did mention that in the last bulletin, and I did say it would probably be in 2 parts. Well, it's more than that. It's 3 parts. And then there's a Christmas bonus coming as well, which is a bumper issue with the whole lot together. So the first section is done, and that is from Tynemouth as far north as Newbiggin. That's ready to go. It's already been edited. It's already to post on YouTube, and that'll be coming quite soon. Probably I'm going to try and pace them so that you'll see all 3 episodes by the end of November, and then, as I say, for Christmas there'll be a bumper episode which I'll probably post on Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve or whatever. I've already well underway with the Durham and Tyne and Wear coast. That's already been, the first section of that's already been filmed. I've done all the narration, everything's ready. It's just to edit and put together. And I could release that before Christmas. It will be ready before Christmas, but I've decided possibly to hold it back until the new year, because if you remember when I was beginning the Northumberland Coast series, I was out there 2nd, 3rd of January, literally freezing me butt off on the northeast coast filming that episode, and I didn't do me health any good at all. So that January-February period is difficult to film outdoors. You've seen the behind the scenes films now, you know what's involved. So standing there in a shirt like this, trying to read narration, constantly interrupted by passers-by and one thing and another, it's quite an arduous task. It's much easier to do that in the summer months, and I've met quite a few of you now over the course of this summer. Gordon and Linda, for example, bumped into me one day while I was filming, and I love speaking to people, especially subscribers, when I meet them, and I think we spent a good hour and a half, 2 hours chatting, and I don't mind doing that on a summer's day, but you can imagine in the middle of January it's a bit tasking. So the reason is I'll probably use the good weather while we have it to do all the filming, and then I'll start releasing them in January and February, so that by the time I get down the Durham coast, we're maybe into March and April, which the weather tends to warm up then. So as I say, just trying to avoid trying to film during January and February. So they're all coming. They look great. I'm sure you're going to enjoy them. I will say one other thing, though. I'm repeating what I said in the last bulletin. The fly films are not simply a repeat of what you've already seen. There is lots and lots of new footage in there. New locations. I've included some places that obviously weren't part of the Northumberland coast, so the area from the River Tyne right up to Blythe, that wasn't included, and that is in the Tyne to Tweed fly film. Also, there's a nice surprise when we get up to Alnwick, because I've included Alnwick in I think it's episode 2 of the flight, and fly around the castle and Alnwick Garden as well. So wherever there's a point of interest, I've digressed inland a little bit. The first episode, we go in and fly over Seaton Delaval Hall, which was something different. So there's lots and lots of new footage in there. Obviously, there's one or two clips the same, but they're edited in a different sequence. We've got Scott Buckley's music onto it, which fits perfectly. I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. And I actually say there's a short narration at the beginning, but there's no historical content in there. There's no commentary in there. But what I've done is I've put subtitles under each of the shots so that you know where they are and what they are. So there's an interest there. I do say one amusing thing on the one of the end narrations, if you like, in that there's a challenge, because when this bumper issue goes up at Christmas, you're probably looking at an hour and a half, all set to this very tranquil music. I'm challenging anyone to stay awake that long, because I've tried to watch it, and even after 45 minutes I'm literally going to sleep. It's so relaxing, and the drones flying over there, you've got this beautiful music, as I say, I'm putting it out there as a challenge for anyone who can stay awake long enough. Okay, on to another subject, and I'm just responding to questions and comments I've had. Once again, thank you for your support and all your comments. It's always appreciated. One or two of you have expressed not a complaint to me, but disappointment in that they're sat down to watch. Episode 12 is over an hour long, and it's constantly interrupted by adverts. As I've replied to the various people that have mentioned this, there's nothing I can do about that. That is YouTube, and that's how they earn the money. The more popular the clip, the more adverts they'll put on it. Now, you're lucky in a way that I've got 2,000 subscribers now, just short of. So thank you all for that. Again, brilliant. I'm chuffed to bits that there's that many people subscribed to me. But my viewer numbers are in the hundreds. Okay, the very first trilogy I put up in 2020, I think that's now got 40,000 views or something. But certainly the current project, I think the early episodes have just topped 1,000 views. Now, compare that to most creators on YouTube. They have millions of views and millions of subscribers. So if you're annoyed at the amount of adverts that's happening on my channel, then think how it is for these other people, because as I said, the more popular the clip, the more adverts they'll put on it. But there's a way around it. I did mention, I think in the one of the previous bulletins, that one way around it is to pay the subscription fee. I mean, every time I go on YouTube, it pops up in the bottom left corner whether I want to go ad free, and you pay a monthly subscription, just the same as Netflix or Amazon Prime or ITVX are doing that now, and you can watch your stuff uninterrupted. So that's one way of getting rid of it. But another way, because I gave it a little bit of thought after having replied to the comments, and the other way, of course, is purchasing the film from myself. And there's two ways of doing that. and that is either via Blu-ray or a cheaper option on USB. And I'll just explain briefly how that would work. I'm going to put my email up on the screen in a moment. And so what it would entail is you emailing me. You would tell me what it is you wanted to purchase, and I would tell you what size of USB stick to buy, because, you know, if you want the Northumberland series, you would need a 64 gigabyte USB. If you want to purchase this plus the Hadrian's Wall, then you would need a bigger one, and so on and so forth. And it also depends where you are in the world, of course. If you're living in Newcastle, then this is going to be a lot cheaper than if you're living in Australia, for obvious reasons. So contact me by email. I will tell you what size USB. You then go out and purchase that yourself and post it to me. I'll download the movie onto it and post it back to you. And of course, a USB is very portable. It'll plug into your laptop, your desktop, or more importantly, your smart TV, because I think most people nowadays have a smart TV. And of course, you'll know down the back you have ports for USB devices, HDMI cables and the like. And so you can plug that in, sit back and watch the entire series in a binge over a weekend if you wish, and not one advert in there. There's a slight advantage to this, and I'm going to just digress for a second. This is a more costly version, and I always produce these. These are sort of a hard copy for safety's sake, because if you know, everything that is digital and online can be, you know, destroyed or damaged or infected in some way, whereas this doesn't. And I'm a bit of a dinosaur in that I like hard copies of things. This here is my DVD collection. Although I'm a member of Netflix and Amazon Prime, and occasionally I will stream a film on there, I much prefer to put a disc into the Blu-ray player, get me tea, more wine, or whatever it is I'm in a mood for, and sit back and enjoy the film. And I don't know about you, it'll depend on which area of the world you're in, but here in the middle of Newcastle, we have one of the highest fibre optic broadband connections. But even with that super duper download speed and everything else, I mean, it's off the map. It's crazy. It's that good. At peak viewing times, you still get buffering or pixelation, whereas with this you don't. You know, it's in full high definition, absolutely pin sharp. Even, I've explained to you before, when it goes on to YouTube, I'll just put that back up. When it goes on to YouTube, there's an advert coming up straight away. When it goes up onto YouTube, it has to be compressed. So although it's been filmed in high definition, you're only getting 3/4 of that on YouTube. And that's the same with Netflix. It's the same with any of the streaming services. And that's just simply that the episode 12 here ended up being 780 gigabytes big. That's this external hard drive is 1 terabyte, and you could house on that all your holiday movies for 10 years, and you would be struggling to fill it. So the episode 12 would have 3/4 filled that on its own. So that's the just giving you an idea of the original size of the project, with everything included: the broadcast camera, the drone camera, the gimbal footage, all the picture information, the extra movie clips that were added, and so on and so forth. It's colossal. To get it up onto YouTube, the software that I have has to compress that into 5 gigabytes. Just imagine the difference, 780 to 5, and yet somehow the quality has to remain and not be diminished in any way. Well, it can't. It just simply can't. So although it looks good on YouTube, it looks good on Netflix, it looks good on all the other platforms, it's not going to be as good as the raw original file. And that's the same for the USB stick. It's compressed, but you're still getting the full HD quality on there. So there's an advantage to this. Anyway, what I was going to say to you is that contact me by email if you want one. Now, it depends on whether you want to be bothered to own a copy, but a lot of you seem to be quite keen. Some of the messages that I get seem to indicate that there are people amongst you who would love to own some of this permanently. So as I say, if you're interested, drop me the email and we'll discuss it from there. I don't want to discuss it on YouTube because it means me giving you my address and you giving me your address, and that's we don't want that on the YouTube platform. That has to be done in private for data protection and all the rest of it. So if you're interested, let me know. As I say, that is a more expensive option. I can't do that in bulk. I can do them maybe in 5s or 10s. So I would have to wait until I got a group of people wanting them before it would be worth me doing them. But as I say, I've produced one of those for each of the series that I've done so far, and that's just something I'm doing. Something I might have to do for next year, and a lot of other creators do it. They have membership to the channel. Now that means paying a monthly subscription to me, not to YouTube, but to me. It's not anywhere near as expensive as Netflix or anything else. It'd probably be £2 to £5 a month or something like that. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head at the moment. But the advantage of doing that is that to someone who joins the channel as a member, then you would get these freebies, if you like, for free, because you're subscribing to the channel in money terms, not just putting your name down, but becoming a member, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not saying I'm definitely going to do it, but I'm considering doing it. And that's for 2 reasons, and I don't mind telling you. One personal reason is, since I started opening this channel, it was because I retired from my wedding business, which crashed during the pandemic, and this was something that I enjoy, and it was something that I could do in my retirement. But it is costly. One lady wrote to me and said, would I consider doing the coastline between Berwick and Edinburgh? Well, I would love to. I would absolutely love to. But driving from Newcastle to Berwick to even begin doing that journey is costing me about 20 quid a day per day. So each of the days I would be going out, I'm racking up hundreds of pounds. I wouldn't even like to think how much the Northumberland coast has cost me to make out of my own pocket. And I'm not crying hard up, don't get me wrong. This isn't a sympathy call. I'm just telling you the facts. I wear my heart on my sleeve, which you might already understand. That coming out of an old age pension is a lot. And I feel a little bit guilty, and I don't mind telling you this personal information. My poor missus has had to go out. She now has 3 jobs, and that is to pay the bills, just like everybody else has to pay, because I am no longer earning any money. As I said, my only income is my old age pension. And here am I swanning up the coast, having all this wonderful time, producing films for all of you guys, and not receiving a penny piece for it. As you know, I've recently monetized the videos, even though it's backdated until the point at which I was eligible for monetization. So that was the point when I passed the 1,000 subscriber mark. The money is backdated till then. I noticed on the YouTube analytics I'd earned the princely sum of £76. So that's in a year. All of that work, all of that time and effort has earned £76. And I haven't received a penny piece of it, because as I explained before, they'll only pay you if it amounts to more than £100, because it's not worth a while sending out or doing bank transfers for less than £100. So as yet, 1 year down the line, I haven't even earned a single penny. And I might never see that money, because as far as I understand it, at the end of the year, if you haven't accrued that £100, the slate is wiped clean and you start again from the beginning of that year. So I'm certainly, a £76 wouldn't even touch the diesel cost alone in producing this. So I find it hard to justify me going out and spending money when my poor missus is working her backside off to try and just pay the bills here. So I feel as though I need to do something. So I'm not passing that guilt or burden on to you, not at all. But most creators are doing this, and of course it's optional. Nobody's pushing you to do it. It's purely choice. If you wanted to support the channel, then you could sign up for it. If you didn't, then you would still enjoy all the work that I do for free. It's entirely your choice. But as I said, 1 or 2 of you have given me comments to suggest that maybe you would be prepared and have the facility to support the channel in some way. I mean, this guy, Scott Buckley, for example, something I forgot to tell you earlier, the reason I know I'm 100% safe with him is because I have done precisely what I've just suggested to you all. I've actually signed up to his Patreon. I've become a patron of his music. So now it means that whatever music of his I want to use, I can use free of charge. And for that, I'm paying £12 per year. That's £1 a month. Now, obviously, the idea is that he has, I don't know how many millions of subscribers, but you can imagine if everybody's paying £1 a month, then that is quite a sizable income for him. I'm not you know, looking to that. Like I said, I've got 2,000 subscribers. So even if every single subscriber signed up to £1 a month, that's still not going to make me well, it may make £2,000 a year, which okay, I wouldn't complain about, but it still isn't going to solve the problem. So it's important to understand that I'm not doing this to make a profit, but simply to cover the cost of all the productions, because as I've described, there is quite a considerable cost. And as I'm getting further away from home, then that cost increases. So that's all I'm trying to achieve here, and it would just make me feel a little bit better instead of taking money out of the very limited budget that we have, that at least the Solid Gold Productions is paying for itself. So as I say, that's all I'm trying to achieve here. So that's it really for this particular bulletin. I'll wish you all the best. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, because liking the videos and subscribing all helps to support the channel. So as I say, if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. It doesn't take less than a minute, and that doesn't cost you anything. I'll make a decision on the membership thing over the winter, and I'll get back to you on that in the new year. But for now, the status quo remains. Things will be as they are, and as I say, I'll update you when the time comes. So I'll wish you all the best, good health, and I'll see you all in the next presentation in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.